Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're digging into something that was everywhere a few months back. The boyfriend cringe.
Oh, yeah. That whole phenomenon.
It kicked off, didn't it, with that Vogue article? The headline was something like, "Is having a boyfriend embarrassing now?" Just provocative.
It really was. And it, instantly struck a chord. Thousands of reactions online, TikToks, Reels, the works. It clearly tapped into something real about, well, how women might be downplaying being partnered up.
Exactly. And that's what we want to do today, kind of peel back the layers,
Yeah.
move past the immediate answers, and look at the maybe deeper psychological, even evolutionary drivers behind why a relationship might suddenly feel like a liability.
Right. Because the stated reasons, what we call the proximate reasons, often sound pretty good. You ask women, especially online influencers, and they'll say, well, I don't want to brag, or
Hi.
I want to support my single friends, acknowledging how tough dating is right now.
Which seems fair enough on the surface. Empathy, humility.
Totally. And those feelings can be genuine. But what's interesting, and what some of our sources really point out, is this disconnect. You often find the people pushing this narrative, loudest, dating's awful, men are the worst, are actually in pretty stable relationships themselves.
Huh. Okay, so that difference makes you think, right, what's really going on?
Precisely. If the stated reasons are one thing, what are the maybe unspoken, ultimate drivers? That's where we get into things like female intrasexual competition, IC, and maybe social status games.
Okay, let's start with the more immediate world first. The influencer economy. That feels like the natural habitat for this cringe.
Definitely.
Yeah.
When you look at relationships through what some call an influencer-first perspective, things shift. A partnership can start looking less like a personal bond and, well, more like a brand collaboration.
A brand collaboration.
Right.
And brands have bottom lines.
Exactly. And there are real, quantifiable online costs to announcing you're in a relationship, especially for female influencers, maybe with a large male following.
Yeah.
You lose followers.
The orbiters, as they're sometimes called. The guys hoping for a shot.
Yeah, those guys.
Yeah.
You go public with a partner, maybe they tune out. That's a measurable hit to your metrics.
And it's not just follower count, is it? The content changes, too.
Right. The sources suggest single life.
Right.
The dating stories, the girls' nights, the independence narrative that stuff often performs better. It's seen as more exciting than, say.
A cute photo with your boyfriend at a pumpkin patch.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
That's considered. Boring engagement-wise. So avoiding relationship posts, the cringe, it becomes a way to protect your online status, your engagement, maybe even your income. It prioritizes how you're seen online, perhaps over sharing relationship happiness.
And that idea of quantifiable metrics is key, I think. Online success is so visible. Likes, views, followers, you see those numbers. But relationship health, that's totally unquantifiable. There's no dashboard for that. So maybe people naturally gravitate towards optimizing the thing they can actually measure.
That's a great way to put it. You focus on the visible reward, the follower count, even if it means neglecting or even hiding. The less measurable, but arguably more important thing, the relationship itself. That's the sort of economic logic.
Okay, so that covers the immediate online pressures. But you mentioned ultimate motivations. Let's go there. Intrasexual competition. I see.
Right. So now we're shifting gears a bit, looking at the deeper, maybe unconscious evolutionary stuff. IC is basically competition within the same sex for mates. And one mechanism connected to this is reproductive suppression.
Reproductive suppression. That sounds intense. What does that actually mean?
It's pretty much what it sounds like. From an evolutionary perspective, women competed for access to the best mates, the ones with resources or good genes. One strategy, often unconscious to boost your own chances, was to subtly lower the chances of your rivals by making them seem less desirable or by discouraging them from mating or reproducing altogether. If you can suppress their success, you effectively have less competition for those valuable mates or resources. Your own genetic success indirectly gets a boost.
Wow. Okay. And the sources connect this to a specific trend they label girl boss gatekeeping.
Yes. This term describes a pattern where you see high-status women, think successful academics, executives, media figures, publicly promoting messages like, dating isn't worth it, men are disappointing, having kids will derail your life, while privately, they themselves are often securely married, partnered, maybe already have kids, or have the resources like egg freezing to ensure they can later.
So they're kind of pulling up the ladder behind them, preaching caution while they're already secure.
That's the argument. And this connects directly to another really powerful idea from the sources. The luxury belief.
Explain that one, a luxury belief.
Okay, so a luxury belief is basically an idea or opinion that signals high status for the person expressing it.
Yeah.
It makes them look progressive or aware or compassionate.
Right.
But it imposes a real cost on less privileged people who might adopt that belief.
How does that apply here with the relationship stuff?
Well, by promoting relationships are cringe or don't prioritize family, the high-status person gains social points for appearing independent or critical of traditional norms.
Yeah.
But look at the happiness data.
What does it show?
Consistently, married people, especially those with children, report the highest levels of life satisfaction. Single women without kids often report the lowest. So promoting anti-relationship or anti-natalist views can actively harm the happiness prospects of women who internalize that message and opt out of seeking those things.
So the elite person looks good, gains status, and potentially reduces their own competition, while the person listening might actually end up less happy.
That's the dynamic the luxury belief concept points to. It's a kind of status win for the promoter, but potentially a life satisfaction loss for the adopter.
That's quite a dynamic.
It is. And it fits nicely with another concept, the inner citadel. This comes from Isaiah Berlin.
The inner citadel, like a fortress.
Kind of. It's a psychological defense.
Yeah.
If there's something you really want and you can't get it, like maybe it's a great partner, maybe it's a house, whatever, you build this inner citadel by convincing yourself you never actually wanted it. Or, even better, that the thing itself is undesirable or flawed.
Okay, so the boyfriend cringe becomes, I'm not single because the options are bad or I haven't found someone. I'm single because having a boyfriend is, embarrassing. It reframes the situation.
Exactly. It protects you from the feeling of lack or failure, and it reduces envy from others, potentially. If you signal the prize isn't worth winning, maybe people stop competing so hard for it. It relates to that joke you mentioned earlier. Next up, is owning a house embarrassing now? Same mechanism.
That makes sense. It's a powerful psychological move. Now let's talk tactics. How does this competition play out? The sources distinguish between male and female competitive styles.
Yeah, typically male intrasexual competition is often more direct, maybe more physical, historically more overt, more about status displays. Female IC, the argument goes, evolved to be more subtle, more indirect, sometimes manipulative.
Why the difference?
Risk avoidance, primarily. Direct confrontation for women in ancestral environments could mean physical harm or social exile, which could be fatal. So, indirect strategies like social exclusion, reputation damage, subtle undermining were often safer and more effective.
And the classic example given is the bless her heart effect, sort of a southern U.S. trope, but the dynamic is universal.
A perfect example of indirect aggression disguised as care. You deliver damaging information about a rival, but you wrap it in the language of concern.
Like, oh, I'm just so worried about Sarah. She seems to be going out with a different guy every week. I just hope she doesn't hurt or get a reputation.
Precisely. You've just broadcast potentially negative information about her dating habits, maybe implying she can't secure commitment, but framed it as sisterly concern. You look caring while potentially harming her social standing or mating prospects. It's really quite strategic, even if unconscious.
Devious, almost.
It can be very effective. And this indirect approach extends to encouraging rivals to essentially handicap themselves in the mating market.
Right. The sources mentioned the haircut example, the breakup cut.
Yeah. Suggesting a woman going through a tough time should chop off her hair. Now, culturally, long, healthy hair is often seen by men as a signal of youth, health, fertility.
So advising a rival to cut it short
Could be framed as empowerment, a fresh start, but ultimately, from an IC perspective, it might serve to make that rival less attractive to potential mates, reducing competition.
And an even more controversial example given was around body positivity messaging.
Yes. This is a sensitive one, obviously. The argument presented in some sources is that while the stated aim of body positivity is support and acceptance, from an ultimate evolutionary viewpoint, promoting messages that might lead rivals to gain significant weight could function as a way to encourage them to essentially eat themselves out of the mating pool.
Framing it as support while potentially reducing their attractiveness to the average mate.
That's the uncomfortable hypothesis put forward. Again, likely unconscious. The source material points to the recent shift with GLP-1 drugs like Ozempic as a sort of natural experiment.
How so?
Well, the observation was that as these drugs became popular, offering a relatively quick way to lose weight, some of the online intensity around fat acceptance seemed to decrease, particularly among certain influential groups.
Suggesting that for some, it might have been less a core belief and more
An expression of that inner citadel, a way of coping with a situation perceived as unchangeable. Once a quick fix appeared, the defense mechanism became less necessary for some. It's a provocative interpretation for sure.
Definitely provocative. Okay, another tactic mentioned is raising the cost of family life, making it seem impossibly expensive or demanding.
Right. This is about setting the bar incredibly high for what constitutes good parenting or a successful family life.
Like needing individual bedrooms for each kid, multiple extracurriculars, fancy vacations, tutors, saving for a $100,000 wedding, that kind of thing.
Exactly. These expectations, often promoted by elite women who can afford them or plan to later via things like egg freezing, create immense pressure. They can make family life seem incompatible with financial stability or career success unless you're already quite wealthy.
Which disproportionately affects.
Lower-income women, potentially.
Yeah.
They absorb the message that they can't possibly be good enough parents unless they meet these incredibly high, expensive standards. This can lead to delaying childbirth or deciding against it altogether. It acts as a form of fertility suppression for those who feel they can't afford the luxury version.
While the promoter has already secured their own path or resources, another ladder-pulling mechanism, perhaps.
That's the argument. And there's one more piece related to suppression. Older partnered women, potentially discouraging younger rivals.
What's the thinking there?
It links to mate guarding and what's sometimes called the absent father hypothesis. If you're an older woman partnered with a high-status man, you have a significant investment to protect the relationship, the resources, the family unit.
Okay.
Historically, high-status men could be targets for mate poaching by younger, potentially more fertile women. So the theory goes, by promoting anti-dating sentiments or the boyfriend cringe, older partnered women might be unconsciously trying to reduce the pool of potential young rivals who could threaten their relationship, protecting their turf, essentially.
Pulling up the drawbridge once they're safely inside the castle.
That's a good analogy for it.
So, all this atmosphere of negativity around dating, relationships, men, the toxic masculinity discourse, the cringe, must have an effect on men too, right?
Absolutely. The sources suggest it contributes to a male retreat. Men hearing constantly that their inherent traits might be toxic or that relationships aren't worth it, well, it can lead to withdrawal. Historically, achieving productive manhood often required societal encouragement, rituals, pushing men beyond maybe a natural inclination towards lower effort.
And if that encouragement turns into criticism,
They may invest less effort, pull back from the dating market, from striving in the ways society used to expect.
which brings us to the swag gap. We see those pictures online all the time. The woman looks amazing and the guy looks like he just rolled out of bed.
Yeah, the swag gap. But we need to be careful here. There are sort of two versions.
Okay.
There's the celebrity version, like a super famous actor or musician looking sloppy next to a glamorous partner. In that case, it's often counter-signaling, meaning they're so high status, so successful, they don't need to try. Dressing down is a perverse signal of their immense status. I'm above the need for effortful display.
Got it. Like Justin Bieber in sweats next to Hailey Bieber looking immaculate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But for the average guy, the non-elite man, the dynamic is different and maybe more concerning according to the sources. We're seeing shifts where, in some demographics, women are outpacing men in education and earnings.
Right. The economic balance is changing.
So if a man isn't bringing overwhelming financial resources to the table anymore, the woman's criteria might shift more towards other things.
Right.
Looks, style, fitness, effort. The lack of swag in a non-elite man isn't counter-signaling high status. It's potentially signaling low effort or lack of value in other areas that now matter more. The rules are changing. If financial contribution is less primary, other forms of value, including physical presentation and effort, become more important.
So basically, if you're not bringing the big bucks, you better bring the effort, the style, the swag.
That seems to be the implication. Every relationship involves some kind of value exchange. If one currency declines in importance, others have to rise to compensate.
Wow. Okay, this has been a lot to unpack, a real deep dive. If we zoom out, what's the main takeaway here?
I think it's understanding that gap, the difference between the proximate reasons we give for our behavior, the ones that sound good, and we often genuinely believe.
Like wanting to be supportive of single friends.
Exactly. And the ultimate unconscious, often evolutionary reasons that might also be driving that behavior underneath, like reducing competition. The key thing is, believing the proximate reason often makes the ultimate reason more effective because it feels authentic and justifiable.
Self-serving altruism, you called it earlier?
Pretty much. It operates below the level of conscious awareness for most people. And if you just look around at the dating discourse today, especially content aimed at women,
It feels very focused on dangers and downsides, doesn't it?
overwhelmingly so. It's all about red flags, things to avoid, reasons relationships fail, why men are disappointing, the ick, reasons not to have kids.
Lots of warnings. Lots of run away from this.
Far more of that than, say, things to look for, green flags, how to build a great relationship, how to choose wisely, what a fulfilling partnership looks like. The narrative is heavily skewed towards avoidance and negation.
So the final thought for people to chew on is, why? Why has so much of the modern mating conversation shifted from pursuit and creation to defense and retreat?
That's the question to ponder. What does it say about where we are culturally?